I gotta point out something that seems a little bit obvious to me, but apparently not so much because of the messages that I often get on social media. People wonder why uh, I have so much anxiety about meeting people and talking in live person when I make all these YouTube videos. And I gotta point out, when you watch one of my YouTube videos, you are not necessarily watching me make my first take. A lot of these videos have multiple takes in them. Oh, this is the first take of this video. If you see this, this is my first take. But unfortunately, not every video that you watch on here is a first take. And that's a key difference. In my last video, I talked about which time machine you would rather travel in, a forward one or a backward one. The reason I came up with that problem, if you will, is that either one has some benefits, right? If I had a backward machine, I think I'd be very wealthy today. There are so many times in a negotiation or a discussion or a job interview or a date or something where if I just had a magic button that would take me 5 minutes back, I could fix a lot of things, right? Or even just 5 seconds back a lot of times would do wonders for my situation. For a forward machine, well, I could certainly use one right now. My sleep schedule is a mess, right? Right now I'm recording this at 6 a.m. If I could fast forward it to like an afternoon time, right? And then I could go to sleep at my normal bedtime. Well, that would be one use of it. The more practical use is I have very bad seasonal depression, right? That's part of the reason. It's kind of funny, we celebrate Valentine's Day in February. I would do a whole lot better with Valentine's Day if it were in August. But that's just me. But if I could fast forward, I should move to Australia. Maybe I could do a whole lot better. I don't know if they celebrate Valentine's Day the same time of the year. But a fast forward machine would definitely do wonders for that. I could probably also fast forward of some of the not so desirable hours of the day, but that might not be so practical. I think the seasons would be a whole lot better. But having said that, social media and technology has its drawbacks. So one of my big frustrations when I negotiate. I do a lot of tutoring, but I often meet these clients online. So I post an ad on Facebook Marketplace or on Craigslist, or sometimes people see me on YouTube and they email me. And one of the big problems with negotiating a tutoring gig by email is that it loses its fluidity, if you will. So I recently, when I moved into this place, I was negotiating the lease in person with the landlord, face to face, right? And you would think I would normally be very nervous about that, but you know what? There's a billion places to move into, right? This isn't like a job interview or a date where, if I screw this up, I might not have another opportunity for weeks or months, or I could just go down the street and talk to another landlord. So that was a little bit low stakes for me. And plus, if all else fails for that day, I could still sleep in my car. I mean, it's not the most comfortable thing in the wintertime, but it's livable, right? It's a relatively low stakes negotiation for me when I was negotiating the lease, and plus I might not even like the place, so it's not a very high stakes event. And what I really liked about it being in person was that as we were negotiating, there was something that the landlord was not willing to concede, and I just sat there in silence, and I said, well, let me look into this. And then I was actually writing a computer game as I was talking to the landlord, and she sweetens the deal for no reason, just because I sat there in silence. With email, on the other hand, it's a little bit harder to play this game because when people go silent, you don't know if it's because they're actually going silent or they're trying to ghost you, or if they're just busy with something, right? I ran into a really frustrating negotiation 3 years ago because I had a client who was trying to haggle a deal, and I replied to them. I kind of countered the offer, but they stopped responding, and so I I kind of just accepted it, and I said, okay, that's fine. Let's start on Saturday. It turned out they were busy with it, so I gave in the concession for I could have gotten something out of it, but they were busy, and I didn't know that. See, had it been face to face, you can't hide busyness in a face to face interview, and yeah, that's the main trail. But at least I don't. You know, I lost that one negotiation because I was lonely. At the time I had just broken up with a girl because she wanted children, and I got a little desperate for that deal. The funny thing is, I didn't even get very far with that client because I was so upset at the how unfair the deal was that it kind of affected my performance, and I lost them. So, long story short, it wasn't even worth getting my foot in the door, and I made a bad fool of myself, if you will. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you're wondering why I don't interact with you offline, or why I would go on a solo sexual Valentine's date, even when people make fun of me when I do go out. Now you know the answer why. So I hope you're watching this version because it's the first one and gives you a sense of how I am in real life. Some of the other uploads are not my first take. Thanks for watching.